Well, thank you for staying with us. It's now time for our first interview. Remember, we told you there has been a quest for a long time for national unity in Nigeria, but most times, many of the citizens, they say, only pay lip service. But there is one man who has taken us away from that narrative to the new narrative of looking at unity in diversity, and his name is Niyi Ayola Daniels. He began a campaign based on his teenage experience when he traveled, well, by train from Lagos to Buniboy village, then in the old Borno state, and now in Yolo state in the mid-80s. And his journey, it's good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So first of all, I'll ask the inspiration behind your attire.
Oh, okay. Actually, the attire is to immoralize the Nigerian, the Fulani man who stood out to me as a man who taught me the values of the fact that humanity knows no tribe and he knows no religion. The man that I met, the area court judge that I met at Buniyadi area court, the Buniyadi area court, way back in 1983, when I found myself in that village, and where I was falsely accused of theft, and I faced a huge crowd, and I was in such a great fear. So, but this alkali judge presented to me the fact that justice is an orphan. He has no tribe, and he has no relative. He's an orphan. Justice is truth in action. He was able to see through me and saw my innocence. He was able to see that I found myself as a teenager, 18-year-old, while in secondary school, falsely accused, falsely prosecuted, within an environment where I did not understand the language of the community. As a Yoruba boy, I found myself in that very remote village in the old Borno state, now Yobe state, that is Buniyadi village. And God brought this alkali judge, who, as I later realized, that he was a Kanuri man. So to immortalize the good values that alkali man preached to me as a young teenager, I have decided to wear this anytime I have opportunity to appear in public, especially during public presentation, either on TV or radio, in memory, in honor of a great Nigerian who preached to me that Nigeria's strength is our diversity and our unity, and that there are still great people in this country who cherish good values. It taught me a whole lot, and I've decided to dedicate the rest of my life to project the good values about Nigeria, that Nigeria's strength, the greatness of Nigeria, will emerge when we concentrate on strengthening our diversity, the unity and the strength of Nigeria's diversity. Those are the power base that will enable Nigeria's greatness to emerge. That's why I'm dressed like this. And I feel so proud to identify with this great Nigerian who neither spoke my language, who didn't bother to know where I came from, who didn't bother to know where my parents were from. At that time, there was no GSM in Nigeria. Even that time, where some cities, big cities, had an analog mobile system, Buniyadi village was such a remote village that the opportunity of having telephone communication was totally impossible. Because the only means of communication or commuting in that village that I saw were donkeys. From the farmland to the homes, from the villagers. So it was such a remote environment. And I found myself locked up in a police cell at Buniyadi village. And I was brought before this alkali area court judge who really showed me the heart of humanity, that we all belong to the same common humanity of God, regardless of race, regardless of tribe, regardless of culture, regardless of religion, regardless of tribe. Oh, God bless the alkali. Right. And I'm so proud of him. And it gives me hope that this country is a great country, and we have great people.
Indeed, I hear your strong affirmation that there is definitely a need to expand our value for our diversity in Nigeria. And again, you talking passionately about, the issue of our diversity and advocating for Nigerians to emulate that virtue. But let's look at the fact that Buniboy highlights the case of jungle justice, human rights violation and the role of judges. Now, tell us a bit about, that extensively.
Okay, well, for you to be able to situate those issues you just raised appropriately, I think I just spent a moment to tell you what really happened to me.
Absolutely.
And how I found myself in that situation. My father sent me on an errand as a teenager from Lagos to go see my elder sister at the University of Maiduguri. He was a student there. My elder brother also attended University of Maiduguri. At home then, University of Maiduguri was the darling university that I wanted to attend because I had such great promises about the university. I heard that if you want to be made, you've got to go to University of Maiduguri. And that University of Maiduguri itself was such a peaceful home. So I had developed such fraternity and affinity and love for University of Maiduguri. And of course, I saw my brother, my sister, board Nigerian Airways to go to University of Maiduguri whenever they were going to school. So I wanted to fly. At that time, I'd never been on a plane, so I wanted to fly. And the only place I wanted to fly to was Maiduguri to attend the university there. So one day, my father just told me that, you're going to travel to Maiduguri to go see your elder sister. I was quite excited. I was elated. I told myself, wow, finally I'm going to fly and I'm going to see this beautiful university that offered my elder brother good chicken, ice cream for lunch and everything. And they were so happy, attending that university. But my dad just dampened my enthusiasm and told me, he said, look, yes, I know you love to see your sister, your darling sister, and you like to go to University of Maiduguri. But you are not going to go by air. You are going to go by train. I want you to know Nigeria. By going by train will afford the opportunity of traveling across at least 12 states of the country. Because you as a boy that was born in Abeokuta, raised up in Lagos, the only two states you knew then were just Lagos and Ogun State. And he told me that, look, Nigeria is a lot bigger than that. And I want you to travel, but you're going to go by train. I didn't like it, the idea, and my mother particularly objected because my final A-level exams were fast approaching. But my dad said, look, you just go 3 days. At that time, to travel from Lagos to Maiduguri was a 3-day journey by train because it covered a distance of a little over 2,000 kilometers. And the journey started. Like I said, my mother very objected to the whole idea, but my dad insisted that they must know Nigeria. The journey started, and we moved from Lagos, Abeokuta, Ibadan, Ilorin, Jeba, Lokoja, Jeba, Mokwa, Bida. We kept going, Kafancha. We kept going. Then I saw what my dad was talked about. I began to see it. Different people, different languages. They came on board the train. I was able to have real exchanges, communication, interaction, and I loved the feeling. And I kept praying, thanking my dad for his vision. But something all of a sudden happened dramatically that kind of created a different scenario altogether, a different narrative. A woman came into the train. At that time, like I told you, my mom and dad gave me a lot of money to give to my elder sister. And so somehow, this woman saw the money that this young guy had on him a lot of cash. And of course, maybe I was naive, and my naivety also showed because I'd never been on that kind of route, never in my life. Somehow, she was able to read that I was naive and I was a JJC using the Nigerian lexicon. So she took advantage of my naivety, and she went to tell the policeman on that train that I stole her money while she was asleep. That the money on me was stolen. The money on me was actually stolen from her. I was arrested. I tried to explain to the policeman that, look, my father gave me this money to deliver to my elder sister. But it was difficult for me to convince the policeman. Before I knew what was happening, I was giving different hot slaps. I said, this is my money. This is my father's sweat and blood. And I will not release this money. My father, he worked so hard to train over 20 children, both his own biological children and those that lived with us when we were growing up. So I saw his sweat. I saw how he sweated, how he worked so hard. I insisted that this money belonged to me. This woman also insisted that the money belonged to her and that she was not going to release this money because it belonged to her. Then the woman also insisted that at that time the incident happened between Bauchi and Gombe. We had already traveled for 3 days. So I was far away from home. But this woman insisted that she was going to come down at Buni Railway Terminal. And that's what gave the title to my book, Buni Railway Terminal. And here I was, the boy that found himself, I found himself at Buni Railway Terminal because the police had to drag me down because the woman insisted that she had to get her money. And now I told the policeman, I said, look, what I will be happy with is for this matter to be charged to court. Because the policeman, you cannot decide who owns this money. Because I was taught as a student that whenever there's a dispute between two citizens of a country and they cannot resolve it, the only arm of government that can deliver justice, that can decide who is the true owner of the money in dispute, will be the judicial arm of government, which are the judges. And the policemen were quick to remind me that, look, we had already crossed from the south, to the southern part of Nigeria, to the northern part of Nigeria, and that the court system and the judicial system that you probably had in mind will be different, because you are going to go to an area court, and you'll be subjected to a legal system that you may not be very familiar with. And in the event of you being found guilty of this crime, you are likely to have your right arm amputated. So I was so much in fear. And I started shedding tears. I was crying as a teenager. At that time, like I said, there was no way to communicate with my parents in Lagos and my sister at the University of Maiduguri. To cut the long story short, I was locked up in the police cell for days. And, of course, talking about jungle justice. Of course, in that kind of setting, the village young men, the out-of-school children, they all gathered around. They wondered, why should this Yoruba boy be locked up here when we could as well just give him the kind of justice that he deserved? After all, it's the Barao. I mean, Barao, they kept shouting, Daniska Barao. But I must give kudos to the policemen. They shielded me. They ensured that the Nigerians, the out-of-school children, didn't actually get to me because they were very angry. And of course, you cannot blame them because that's all they knew. That was the level of their education. They wanted to administer instant justice on me. To them, they were both the accused. They were the accuser. First of all, they considered themselves to be the witness, the accuser, the judge, and the executor. So they all at the same time. They wanted to carry out these responsibilities all at the same time. To cut the long story short, I found myself charged to court at the area court in Buniyadi. Here I appeared before this alkali judge, who looked at me several times. I tried to talk, to explain myself, but I was overwhelmed with the conspiracy, the trauma that I was going through. I kept thinking of my home and my mother. Why did I find myself in this situation? But God bless the alkali. He looked at me. He saw that the crowd outside wanted justice. They wanted him to dance to the tune of the mob psychology. But he refused to yield to the mob psychology. He kept looking at me, checking my demeanor, my countenance. And at that time, the only language of communication in the court was Hausa language. And here I was. I do not understand Hausa language. I couldn't speak it. So the alkali saw through me. All of a sudden, when I least expected it, he just said, Adeni, stop crying. Tell me exactly what happened on the train. I was very shocked, pleasantly so surprised. Because before that time, no one had spoken a language to me that I could relate with in the court. So this alkali opening up his mouth to speak English was a lifeline to me. Was a real lifeline to me that gave me courage and it gave me hope to speak. So I could communicate with him. And I told him what happened with my voice shaking. He looked at me several times. And I saw him call people around him. And he later explained to me that he spoke to them and told them that, look, he has been an area court judge for years. Whenever he saw suspects brought before him, looking at their demeanor, after asking them one or two questions, he could easily come to the conclusion that they are just street touts or motor garage boys. But that this boy that he was looking at does not appear to be a thief for him, and that he was not going to deliver his judgment on this matter until a thorough investigation was carried out. Because I presented a letter written by my father, to whom it may concern, that captured the essence of my trip. He said that nobody bothered to investigate this letter. So he said, he now ordered another 2 sets of policemen that they have to travel back to Lagos on another 3-day journey to go and look for Niyi's father, to be able to authenticate and verify all what Niyi was talking about. Wow. And as I later understood, the alkali, he used his own personal funds to sponsor that trip. A 3-day journey to go to Lagos, another 3-day journey to come. Oh, God bless Alkali. And each time I remember this story, how the Alkali, he showed me the side of humanity, that we all belong to the same family of God. That's why anytime I have opportunity to appear in public, like I said, I try to, in honor of the memory of that great man, that great Nigerian, I like to dress like this. The report came back from my father, who kept records, because my father worked with the Total Petroleum as a dealer, but first as an auditor. So keeping of records was top notch for him. Top notch. He had a carbon copy of the letter that he wrote, that he gave me to travel. And he did more than that. He kept records of the serial number of the money, of the Naira notes that he gave to me. Maybe his instinct as an auditor or as an accountant helped him to document things. But that was my lifesaver. So the report came back. Thank God for good policemen who did not pervert the cause of justice. And that is why there's still good policemen. Because at that time, there was no way the Alkali would have known if they had told him that, look, Niyi gave them a fake address. If they had reported they've given that kind of report back to the Alkali, that would have probably been the end of my life. Even the Alkali would not have been able to help me. So the report came, and eventually the Alkali saw my innocence. He discharged and acquitted me, and the money was returned to me. And with that, I was able to reach my sister. Eventually, I had to rush back to Lagos to write my exams. And here I am today, a lawyer. And to the glory of God, I see myself as a trophy of Nigeria's diversity. A trophy of Nigeria's strength in our diversity. And that's why I've dedicated the rest of my life to promote these values about Nigeria as a great country. Yes, we have challenges, but we have challenges and a lot of dangers around us as a country. But in those dangers, there are opportunities for Nigeria, because the greatness of Nigeria will emerge within the crucible of all of these issues that Nigeria is going through. Nigeria is a country in transition. We should not be too quick to throw the baby away with the bathwater. So there's so much greatness around this country. And that is why I decided to capture the whole story of my life from that childhood experience into the book, The Buniboy. And I must take this opportunity to say that I almost completely forgot about this story until 2014, when I read in the newspapers. One day when I opened the newspaper and I saw frontline headline news, 59 boys of Federal Government College, Buniyadi, killed. Oh my God. I told myself, Buniyadi again. Buniyadi again. So the memories of Buniyadi came back to me. It's as if I heard the voice of God telling me, Niyi, you've got to give something back to Buniyadi. Buniyadi should serve for you an altar of my mercy and grace for you. And that you should remember the goodness of the Alkali Church. You should remember the fact that you are a trophy of the diversity and the strength and the unity of Nigeria, and that you should do everything to capture this. And that was why COVID afforded me the opportunity. That's one of the blessings of COVID, because everybody were forced to shut down. It afforded me the opportunity to sit down and put pen to paper to write this book, The Buniboy.
All right. I mean, I hear the strength, and one of the strength and innovation to appreciate from the Buniboy is also the innovations in the administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, the Anti-Torture Act, which is one of the things that, you know, Buniboy also highlights. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, yes, in reading Buniboy, you'll be able to appreciate some of how Nigeria has moved from where we were before and where we are today. At that time, maybe before the dispensation of the Anti-Torture Act of 2017, most people, or even including law enforcement agencies, they probably thought that torture was something that they could do and get away with it. But a lot of things have since changed. The Anti-Torture Act 2017, which was passed with the sole objective to prohibit and punish anyone that engages in any form of torture, cruel and inhuman or degrading treatment by any kind. The act criminalizes torture for the first time, even though the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria frowns against torture, but it does not criminalize it.
Okay.
Now, for the first time, this act, the Anti-Torture Act of 2017, criminalizes torture. And it makes it explicitly clear that the right to freedom from torture, cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment is a non-derogable right. And thereby, that it criminalizes torture and protects victims and witnesses of torture. And it lays it very clearly. In fact, let me just use the opportunity to read section 1 of the act, which talks about the duty of government, imposes an obligation on government to ensure that all persons, including suspects, detainees, and prisoners, are respected at all times, and that no person under investigation or held in custody is subjected to any form of physical or mental torture. And it defines what are the different categories of torture. You know, torture is deemed to be committed when an act by which pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, is intentionally inflicted on a person. One, to obtain information or confession from him or a third person, or to punish him for an act he or a third person has committed or suspected to have committed, or to intimidate or coerce him or a third person for any reason based on discrimination of any kind. Now, the penalty for torture is listed in section 8, which says that any person who commits torture, any person, shall be liable on conviction to imprisonment for a term of 25 years. Be it a police officer, an EFCC officer, a private person, a vigilante. If you are engaged, whether directly or indirectly, whether you aid it either as an accessory before the commission of the torture or an accessory after the torture is committed, you are going to be liable on conviction to a time of imprisonment for 25 years. And if death occurs as a result of the torture, the person involved will be charged with murder. It is a very, very powerful and a very compelling law, the Anti-Torture Act, which many Nigerians and even and police officers should actually be very much aware of it.
Absolutely.
And that as a police officer, there's under no circumstance whatsoever can you claim that a superior officer asks you to do it. In fact, the act makes freedom from torture a non-derogable right. It states clearly that no exceptional circumstance whatsoever, either a state of war, a threat of war, internal or political instability, or any other public emergency may be invoked as a justification for torture. It states also that an order from a superior officer or from a superior in the office of a public authority
All right.
shall be invoked as a justification.
All right, I'll hold your thoughts on this because we definitely were going to come back to you to round off. In fact, you'll be telling me for staying with us, and like I said earlier, it's time for us to maybe just look at the wrap. But first of all, talk to Niyi Ayola Daniels on what the projects have been, the initiative, and the future of the Buniboy initiative. So back to you, Niyi. I mean, there have been achievements and contributions. What have those been?
Okay, thank you very much again, Adora. Well, the offshoot of my experience at Buniyadi village, particularly what I got from reading the headline news about the 59 boys of Federal Government College Buniyadi killed, led to me coming up with the setting up of Buniyadi Foundation. I've set up Buniyadi Foundation in 2021. And that foundation decided to reach out to the children at the IDP camp. We targeted the children of the IDP camp here in Abuja, both at Kujingoro and Area 1. The Buniyadi Foundation is now responsible for the payment of school fees, uniforms, shoes, books for children from the northeast of Nigeria. We're able to see children from Buniyadi village itself who were forced to leave their homes in the north, in northeast Nigeria, and now camped at the IDP camp here in Abuja. So I was so happy to identify with these children from northeast, particularly Yobe, because to me, there's no way I can define my life without really relating it to that incident at Buniyadi village. So each time I see anybody from either Borno or Yobe, I remember the goodness of that alkali, and I have this fondness for that person because I see that we belong to the same common humanity of God. So with that, we're able to we're taking care of children, like I said, from Buniyadi village. Some are from Dapchi, from Goza, from Potiskum, from even Menduguri township itself. So we have them in secondary schools, some in junior secondary school, some in senior secondary school. And I'm so happy. I mean, I can't really describe my joy in turning my pain into purpose.
So there is a Buniyadi Foundation.
That has set up this foundation, so we are responsible for that. And we also reach out to them by way of a food reach out. We do what is called the soup kitchen, where we go there to provide meals for them regularly. We give them a lot of materials that they will need in that place, and they're so happy. I mean, I was so thrilled. One day I went to see them, and they were singing for me. Songs that brought tears of joy to my eyes at the IDP village. They asked me, they said, "Sir, you're from the southwest. Why do you love us so much? You are not from the north." I said, "No, I'm sorry, don't think so. I am one of you. I drank water in your village, Buniyadi village. I ate food in the Buniyadi village. I breathed the air in Buniyadi village. I saw kindness. I saw mercy. I saw love. I saw humanity in Buniyadi village. I am your brother's keeper. We are one." And that to me is what the greatness of Nigeria offers us in our strength and in our diversity. And we also do more than that. I also saw that the women in that IDP camp, most of them are widows because they lost their husbands through to insurgency. So we now organize skill acquisition for them to train and teach them how to, earn income by acquiring skills that will give them economic empowerment. We have done that now, and they're so happy, and they're so happy, they're so excited. So to me, in fact, my last birthday was celebrated at the IDP camp. So and I love that. That is one of the key things that the Buniyadi Foundation is doing. And now, the Buniyadi Foundation also has the Buniboy project itself. This Buniboy project is a project that highlights and focuses on Nigeria's strength in our diversity. And one of the things we have done is to actually make Nigerians to tell their own version of the Buniboy story. They have their own stories. So we have instituted a challenge. It's called Buniboy Strength in Diversity Challenge, that gives Nigerians opportunity to tell stories of unexpected, extraordinary intervention in their lives by complete strangers who neither spoke their language, who perhaps do not belong to their tribe, different religion, different culture, but came at a time into their lives, saved them from death, saved them from imprisonment, saved them in different ways. It could be at work. People who played key roles in your life when you least expected them. That is the beautiful story about Nigeria. We want Nigerians to talk. So I've instituted this. And this challenge is made available to all Nigerians all over the world.
We
want the different version of this story to come out. And our judges we have the judges who at the end of the day will evaluate and assess each video individually. And the best winner, the one that gives us a story that is compelling, that is powerful, that unites Nigeria, that promotes the culture of, unity, that promotes unity and strength in our diversity, will win the star prize of 1 million naira from us. And there are other 5 consolation prizes for the second runners of 5 people. And we have already, they're going to be giving 100,000 naira each as for coming second, 5 people. So prizes. The objective is to galvanize national respect, is to galvanize love for the fatherland, is to remind ourselves that Nigeria is a great country.
All right,
yes, we have challenges,
yes,
but in that challenges, therein lies the greatness of Nigeria.
Yes. Okay, just before you go, I mean, the establishment of the diversity clubs in secondary schools.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for reminding me that. Yes, we've also started to catch them young in secondary school. We have started what is called diversity club. We want to begin to teach young Nigerians, students from junior secondary school, to appreciate Nigeria's beauty in our diversity. We want to teach them that diversity is beautiful, that even God himself is a God of diversity. He has put all of us together regardless of tribe, regardless of religion, regardless of culture. We all belong to the common humanity of God. So we want to ensure that we instill into the young Nigerian students the values of strength and the unity of Nigeria's diversity by starting up diversity clubs in secondary schools in Nigeria, starting with Abuja. And interestingly, Adara, diversity is one of the topics in the subject called civic education. And civic education is now has been made a compulsory subject for all students in Nigerian secondary school, be it art students, commercial students, or science students. You've got to study civics. So it's a great opportunity for us to be able to initiate a new culture, attitudinal change for Nigerians towards fatherland, to be able to ensure that we can sustain that love for our country. We are going through a lot, just like other countries too. But like I said, in the midst of the crisis that Nigeria might be going through, be it political, social, therein lies the greatness of a country. Because Nigeria is a great country. It's a great country. We've been saying it, but we need to remind ourselves our history, where we are coming from, what Nigeria used to be before. Do you know what it took? My father knew there was no kidnapping in Nigeria at that time. That's why he could afford to send me to go to Maiduguri all the way from Lagos. There are no ritualists. So we need to begin to see the Nigeria of those days, that it can come back. But of course, here, I will take the opportunity that the leadership of our country, we need to really do a lot more. We are doing great, but there's a lot to be done. And right now, there's need for a leader to begin to communicate more with the people in a manner that openness, transparency will be entrenched, so that the values of we've already taken a lot of steps to try and get his name. It's been a long time, but because of the insurgency in the northeast, I've not been able to actually gather myself and the courage to actually visit that place. I really want to visit that place. I'm already told that the alkali is late, unfortunately, but I look forward to the day I will see his children and be a blessing to his children and to his grandchildren, and to remind them of the great work their father did in my life.
Maybe a posthumous award is not bad as well.
Yes, as a matter of fact, thank you, Adora. Maybe the governor of Yobe State could consider giving a posthumous, recommend this alkali. By the time we get his name, for a posthumous national award, because I'm a trophy of his honesty, of his candor, of his forthrightness. And today, I pay glowing tribute to a great man who taught me great values in life.
And your vice president is a Canary man as well, so I think that also leads you back to Yobe in one way or the other. But, you know, talking about the IDP camp, perhaps another visit you may want to take is at night, because the visits in the daytime is very diverse from what you find at night. At night, they have no light, and they are very open to crime, so that's another way.
Oh, thank you very much, Adora, for that. I'll take very serious note of that. Thank you so much.
Well, we've been speaking to Niyi Ayola Davis. He began a campaign based on his teenage experience and put it into a book that he says will be a sequel to a movie soon. And, well, he said he traveled by train from Lagos to Buniboy, the village, at the time when we had old Borno State and now in Yola State in the 80s, and the experience will be captured in that book. But in the meantime, he's doing a lot of initiative and trying to, of course, bring diversity into the consciousness of young people through a video challenge and reaching them young in secondary schools. Thank you so much. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
And all the best.